you. So we've got Esteban here from Decentraland. We're here in Buenos Aires. Esteban's from Buenos Aires, so I wanted to start the conversation by just hearing a bit from you about the crypto community in Argentina and how that's evolved.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. The story of cryptocurrencies here in Buenos Aires, I think that it started around 2012. I look a little bit stiff.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Volume control.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So the story of Bitcoin in Buenos Aires started around 2012, 2013. We wanted to start some user groups like in Linux, in the Linux community, and some of the folks that are now heavily involved in Bootstrap, they started this Bitcoin embassy in downtown Buenos Aires. At the time, they also started the Latin American Bitcoin conference, and I think that was the spark that really got a lot of the movement here in Buenos Aires started. So all of the big personalities of the Bitcoin scene at the moment, this was late 2013, they came here and it felt really great to have Buenos Aires be like the place where all of the community gathered for at the time. Then we had the Miami Bitcoin conference, which was also very famous for kickstarting a lot of the movement in that space of Bitcoin. It was also where Vitalik introduced the idea of Ethereum as one of the first. But this was in Miami, not in Buenos Aires.
Close.
Yeah. But it took place 2 months after Buenos Aires.
Okay.
So since then, we've come a long way. For me personally, it started with working at the Voltaire Hacker House back in the day in Palermo. From that community had a lot of projects started, like Zeppelin, Stream a long time ago, Decentraland started from there. Now there's also a Lightning Network wallet that is stealth mode coming out of there. And the Espacio Bitcoin as well has been very fruitful. We've got Gusto, Ripio, and a lot of different projects that came out of that.
All out of the Voltaire.
Those came from the Espacio Bitcoin, the Bitcoin embassy in downtown. Yeah, mostly, Diego Gutierrez, he's the one who led that.
Okay. And so I had never heard of Voltaire until I got here. So was this a hacker house, or was it like a community, like multiple groups of people, or?
Well, it started just like friends working on our own projects. It started physically in what used to be the big pay offices, and we invited most of our friends working on similar projects and startups to set up their offices there, and in some sense it was a community there, but it was small. It was just our friends, professional friends. We reached a number of 15 or 17 members, and then we had to split off. We now have 3 Voltaire houses that we call them, the Zeppelin offices, the Decentraland office, and the original one is still standing.
If you have a chance to come to Argentina, you have to come visit the Decentraland house. It's amazing. I feel like the energy in each of well, I've only been in Decentraland, but it's so much energy, such a buzz. So it's totally infectious and palpable.
Yeah, well, our team is mostly distributed. We've got a bunch of the guys here, but we've got people all over the place. New York, Boston, San Diego, LA, Colombia, Amsterdam, Czech Republic, Hong Kong.
So really committed to the decentralized Decentraland community.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
That's cool. And so what were you doing? Did you start with Decentraland, or was this your first foray into cryptocurrency, and what were you doing?
Well, back in 2014 I started working at BitPay for the open source projects of BitPay. I worked and developed for the Copay project, a little bit for the Inside Block Explorer at the moment. What made me, I'm pretty proud of the work we did with the Bitcore JavaScript library. At the moment it was really hard to code for anything blockchain related, and I think that was a step upwards that really pushed the industry forward. So yeah, after that I started doing some freelancing, consulting, some projects that came out of that time were streaming project Decentraland, back when it was like just a open source idea with some blockchain. It really evolved over the time into what it is now. We're still an open source project, an open network for a virtual world. I'm pretty excited about how everything is evolving and where we're going with that.
Awesome. So, what was the problem you were trying to solve when you started thinking about Decentraland?
So, back in the day when we were using the DK1, the developer kit for Oculus, it really was shocking how immersive the experience was, even though it was very early. So we started to think that in the future we may have a virtual shared world where people are connecting in this space. And we thought that it would be a shame if this virtual world were controlled by one company or one organization, and we thought that it would have to be something more open like the internet was. So that was the main idea, to have the virtual world of the future be an open standard and an open network.
And were you like a Second Life or Sims or any sort of digital world player before growing up?
I played a bunch of different massive multiplayer online games. Not in particular much of Second Life, although I played around with that. But there was actually an Argentinian open source multiplayer online game. Yeah, it was called Argentum at the time.
Okay.
Well, it's still working, but I don't play anymore. It was really interesting. It was an open-ended game, and the community behind it was really active. And in fact, I think that most of my friends around here learning how to code and how to develop because of trying to do improvements to Argentum or also hacks.
Cool. So shifting a little bit to Decentraland and what it's become, what is the most delightful thing you've seen be built or occur on the platform?
Well, we're still in the very early days of the platform, but I'm super happy about the different ideas that this is sparking on people's mind. Like for example, when Sebastian from Tokyo came to us with the idea of doing mortgages with Ordano, I thought that was one of those things that showcase how Decentraland can be a sandbox for experimenting with the technology. And push it forward so that then we can later apply it to real world scenarios. So that's a hidden objective of Decentraland, to improve humanity's contracts by first testing out if they make sense in a virtual world where we don't have a lot of problems related with the last mile of having everyone use a private key or whatever. Because all of our users already have some kind of familiarity with Ethereum or handling your private keys.
Yeah. One thing I've been thinking about, speaking of the mortgages, which is interesting because it's kind of like, how meta can this get? Like crypto on crypto, and how deep do you think it will? Have you thought about that?
Well, all the different communities and districts and community projects that are coming along, they each present their own ideas to build in there. So there is this idea of like a cyberpunk city inside of Decentraland, and inside of the cyberpunk city they are looking to rent places inside of there, so it's already a little bit more meta than just the virtual world and the land. We're looking at voting and governance for those districts to be able to decide on things collectively. There's also, for example, there's a festival and a district code like that. They want to do some kind of democracy-based decision on which kinds of artists should they bring into the scenario and everything. So it's really the imagination is the only limit for what you can build in there. It's still the early days, but we are doing a lot of progress. We recently released an SDK and we're improving on that constantly. But some people already are showcasing their crypto collectibles there, like cypherpunk, CryptoPunks, avatars, their CryptoKitties, and all of that, all in like different framed in their virtual houses.
Oh, that's cool. So one thing I've been thinking about is like humans tend to group together in tribes in real life around shared beliefs. What are the shared belief systems that have translated to Decentraland? It's probably not religion in the sense of like a god, but have you started to see like fractions of like different belief systems?
Yes, well, we've got these, mostly so it's a crypto audience for the time being, so libertarianism is pretty big in there. We've got some anarchist districts, we've got some politically inclined movements inside of Decentraland. We've got also cultural neighborhoods. There's Dragon City, which is the Chinese community with their place in there. There's Little India and Little Italy parts.
Really?
Yeah.
But you know what's kind of weird or interesting is that in a pixelated world where you don't need to be spatially next to each other, that people are still doing that? Like, why?
Well, when we were thinking about the parcels of land and what should drive the value of those parcels of land, in some sense I wanted to encode the attention of people that are around that parcel. So if your parcel is receiving a lot of visits because you are next to like one of the biggest attractions in the center, which may be, I don't know, let's say a scenario for the best shows in the world, or something like that. If you receive a lot of traffic because of your neighborhood, then your land is more valuable, and then I think that it's in some sense you have to step up to your neighbors or sell your land. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so it helps with protection and
That's my hack. That's our hack.
I have other questions written down that I want to ask you. Okay, so here's an interesting one. This is from Joel, actually. So just because it's Decentraland doesn't mean there's not like people problems. Have you thought, like, what does warfare look like in Decentraland? Have you seen any of that yet? Do you expect it?
Yeah. So for most of the decisions that we think that should be made globally for the world, that's why we are looking into these voting tools and voting applications. I think that we come a long way into fixing a lot of the social issues within Decentraland because violence doesn't scale in a virtual world. Most of the violence that we see because of warfare and a lot of the different problems in the material world come because of like the dominance of atoms over information. In this virtual world, you don't have the force to, like, if someone disagrees with me, then I will debate you or something like that, or I will make a war with you. So I think that it allows for a more civil society of some sort. I'm also very worried about the Decentraland, this virtual world is used as an escape from the real world. So we're working with psychologists and people to provide support for that. This is actually a community-driven effort that some people reach out to us and say that VR can be used for a lot of things in this field, particularly to treat phobias. That's in the psychological field is used for a lot of that, and I think that we can do a lot of work.
That's interesting. So what does that look like? Is that like you can go see a therapist on the platform, or is it kind of signals that like indicate that someone might need help or something?
For the time being, the easiest aspect would be like to see someone inside of a virtual world. It's in some sense a safe environment for you. So that's what we are exploring at the moment.
That's amazing.
But there's also a lot of work being put into how we design the avatar system. This has been explored at depth by different previous projects, and we are trying to make use of the best ideas out there for this project.
Yeah, that's really cool. My mom is a therapist, and she has a couple of patients who just spend all their time in this, I think, it's sex life. So as an escape, I guess. But it's cool to also someone like my mom who has no idea. She's like, "Are you doing Bitcoin?" Could add value in this way, which is really, really cool to think about. Let's see what else I had. Oh, we got to. Okay. So you talked a little bit about it, but when you think about what you're worried this could become, what is your kind of biggest fear that you're worried about preventing, or maybe it's the internet?
Yeah, so the internet is a wide place, so if Decentraland is not a great gift to humanity, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty worried, but we've got tools to fix this. about all kinds of psychological harm in some sense. We've got these tools to protect you from like content that you don't want to see. We've got tools to protect you socially against like other users. It's the small things, the devils in the details, but I think that we are cruising through this space pretty in a good way, because there's also all this information and materials from different experiences that other virtual worlds have gone through, and we are confident that we can navigate through them.
What's your focus right now?
A bunch of things.
Yeah.
We've got a conference that's coming on in Hong Kong on July 24th.
What's the conference?
It's called Nifty. Okay. It's about gaming and NFTs.
Okay.
Because, well, NFTs are very important for Decentraland because, well, land is an NFT, one of the first NFTs out there. And we think that it's an environment that you can like make use of your NFTs in more rich way, in a richer way. So that's in my mind a lot. Also in my mind has been how to scale a bunch of the different transactions that happen inside of the world. Our approach and go to market is the idea that you can use your web browser to explore Decentraland. And exploring Decentraland with your web browser is another scalability problem, because it's technologically almost impossible to achieve. So we're looking at the different ways that you can do that. Then also, well, continue to experiment with things in the Ethereum ecosystem, coming up with ideas to build TCRs that make sense for games. For example, we are building lists of TCRs. Well, TCR is a token curated registry. It's a mechanism for a community to auto-moderate or to self-govern itself. We are doing this for what are the kinds of avatars that you can use. So that we don't, a lot of the decisions that we take, we take them very, very cautiously, because nobody should decide how people look in this virtual world if it's really decentralized. So building a TCR so that the community decides on what kind of avatars are acceptable. It's one really good use case of TCRs in general. And you can also have different lists. For example, only these kinds of avatars can be used in this district, or this is our etiquette for the Genesis Plaza because it's a public space and you can go around naked.
Interesting. So is there, for the TCR list, is it a unique token, or is it mana that you're using?
Yeah, so each TCR has their own token. For the time being, mana is the token used to buy those tokens.
Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for the time. Let me see if anyone asks questions on Twitter. On the Twitter sphere. Are you active on Twitter?
A little bit.
Not really.
Se fueron allá, son 170 personas, nos habrán ido 170. Por lo menos me van a ver la clase y están acá.
Awesome.
All right, Rafi, thanks for coming. It was a pleasure.
See everybody
Bye-bye.
over and out. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been